Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a place that is entirely designed around one thing: transformation. We're looking at Cadet College Ghora Gali, an independent, high-altitude military boarding school over in Pakistan. Now, this isn't just your standard school. It's a meticulously engineered ecosystem. It takes young boys and, through a deeply structured environment, aims to forge them into disciplined, productive leaders. We're going to really unpack how they pull this off, looking at the strict rules, the intense daily routines, and the sheer, unforgiving physical environment that literally shapes these students. To really wrap our heads around this place, you first have to understand exactly where it is. Picture this: you're 2,200 meters above sea level. You're up in the Murree Hills of Punjab, surrounded by some incredibly rugged terrain. The air up there is thin, and the sub-zero winters, they are absolutely brutal. We're talking specialized heating and alternate power just to keep the lights on. This sensory reality, the biting cold, the steep hills, the sheer isolation, is the literal and metaphorical foundation of the college. It perfectly sets the stage for a transformation that is, well, anything but easy. It demands absolute resilience from day one. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the core philosophy driving the whole operation. It's rooted in a very specific belief that spiritual, moral, and physical growth absolutely have to happen at the exact same time. As you can see, they explicitly state their goal is to establish God-fearing leadership, and they use a military-style environment, the order, the tight structure, the ranks, as the primary vehicle to instill those values. It's a completely holistic approach to character development that blends secular education with a very firm ideological and religious grounding. Section 1. Welcome to Ghora Gali, the high-altitude crucible. So this crucible is located in Talim Nagar over in Sunnybank, Murree. And actually, let me clear up a super common misconception right off the bat. Despite the name Ghora Gali, it is firmly planted up in the historic Murree Hills, not in District West Karachi, as some folks sometimes mistakenly assume. Here, the transformation kicks off with a phase they simply call breaking in. Now, this is not just some casual orientation week. It is a mandatory 12-week intensive isolation period. The stated purpose: to reclaim new cadets from their past comfortable routines. It's a grueling physical and psychological initiation designed to totally strip away old habits and rapidly instill the promptness, orderliness, and heavy sense of responsibility that defines what they call a Hillian. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark reality of that breaking in period. The rules for these first 3 months are staggeringly severe. Look at this. Absolutely no visits from parents. No leaving the campus boundaries whatsoever. Personal mobile phones? Banned. Completely not allowed. If a cadet wants to hear their family's voice, phone calls are strictly restricted to Sundays only, and they have to be routed right through the administration block. Really think about that for a second. Imagine being a 12-year-old surviving 3 months of total isolation. It is a massive shock to the system, intentionally designed to forge that resilient Hillian spirit right out of the gate. Section 2. Books, Boots, and Discipline. Once they actually survive that breaking-in period, the cadets enter this incredibly tightly choreographed balancing act. They manage this duality by literally splitting the cadets' lives into 2 distinct worlds that operate side by side. On the one hand, you have the academic division. That's led by the vice principal and staffed by civilian lecturers with master's degrees. They're heavily focused on pure sciences, math, and prepping these kids for the Board of Intermediate and Secondary Education Rawalpindi exams. But then on the other hand, you have the military division, led by the adjutant and run by retired Army non-commissioned officers. They're the ones commanding the drill squares, teaching map reading, and seriously pushing physical endurance. It's a deliberate clash of cultures, really. You've got the civilian academic teaching physics and the retired Army NCO running the obstacle course, both working in tandem to build the mind and the body. Just try to imagine the physical toll of this daily routine. It's dawn. You're in freezing mountain air and you're out doing morning drill and salute practice on the parade ground. The cadets are pushed through a modernized obstacle course. We're talking high walls, monkey bars, rope bridges, the whole shebang. For major sports like hockey and cricket, they actually march out to use the much larger fields at the nearby Army Guerrilla camp. And visually, the campus is striking. You'll see cadets in standard camouflage uniforms for their intense training, but then transitioning into their formal Friday mufti dress, which is this really sharp black waistcoat worn over a crisp white shalwar kameez for prayers and special events. Section 3. High-altitude campus life. Let's move to and see how this builds, because creating and maintaining this remote, highly specialized ecosystem certainly didn't happen overnight. CCGG is actually a relatively young institution. It was inaugurated back in August 2002 by retired military officers to meet a massive rising demand for this specific type of education. By 2010, they had already expanded significantly, adding dedicated science wings and computer labs. Fast forward to 2020, and you see the introduction of smart classroom technology with projectors, right alongside a newly modernized obstacle course. A lot of this rapid two-decade modernization was spearheaded by long-serving leaders like Principal Colonel retired M. Khalid Khan, who really pushed the college to meet contemporary global standards. If we look under the hood at the administration, you can see that military-style hierarchy reflected directly in the pay scale. The principal, who's usually a retired colonel or brigadier, sits right at the executive level, followed by the vice principal, who handles the senior administration. Below them, you see that split again, the adjutant leading the training side and the lecturers handling the academics. Plus, CCG relies heavily on local logistics and hospitality workers to run the mess halls and maintain the vast estate. This actually makes the college a major economic engine and a huge employer for the entire local Sunnybank area. Now, the strict military discipline of the college absolutely extends to its finances. The fee structure for the 2025 to 2026 session shows an all-inclusive monthly due of around 35,000 to 40,000 Pakistani rupees. That covers tuition, food, boarding, everything. But you've got to pay close attention to the fine print here. If you pay late, there's a fine of 100 rupees per day. Doesn't sound like much, right? Well, wait until it aggressively compounds to 5,000 rupees a month. And if fees go unpaid for over a month, you don't just get a polite warning letter, you get hit with the brutal strike-off rule. That means the cadet's name is simply erased from the rolls, requiring a 10,000 rupee readmission fee. There is absolutely zero leniency. To keep the cadets focused and supported through all of this, the college provides a fully enclosed, self-sustaining world that essentially completely replaces their outside life. Cadets live in distinct boarding houses named after figures like Jinnah and Iqbal. This setup is brilliant because it fosters fierce competition and deep brotherhood at the same time. Their spiritual life is centered around a central masjid led by a full-time resident khatib. Healthcare? Handled by an on-campus infirmary that has direct emergency links to the combined military hospital in Murree. Even their digital life is tightly controlled, with research strictly limited to the heavily filtered Internet Club. Section 4. The Hillian Legacy. So the crucial point is right here. We've seen the grueling isolation, the brutal physical environment, and the rigorous academic and financial discipline. But after years of this intense environment, the absolute most crucial factor in this entire ecosystem is the age of the cadets. 12 to 18. These aren't just any years. These are the most critical, highly malleable developmental ages of a young man's life. By capturing students during this exact window, the institution isn't just teaching them facts from a textbook. It is fundamentally rewiring their habits, building their psychological endurance, and shaping their entire worldview during the exact time their core identities are being formed. And the results? They are very tangible. For the families sending their sons here, this is the ultimate return on investment. Cadet College Ghora Gali acts as a direct feeder into the national ecosystem. The structured environment specifically preps these boys for the grueling Inter-Services Selection Board, or ISSB. Graduates routinely go on to be commissioned at the elite Pakistan Military Academy Kakul, the Naval Academy, and the Air Force Academy. Meanwhile, many others leverage that deeply ingrained discipline to secure highly prestigious roles in the civil services and police cadres. Which brings us to the final thought of this explainer. We live in an era that is completely defined by endless digital distractions, constant connectivity, and arguably a real dilution of personal discipline. When you look at the stark contrast of Cadet College Ghora Gali, where leadership is forged through a 12-week crucible of total isolation, freezing early mornings, and relentless physical and mental demands, you really have to ask yourself, in an increasingly distracted world, is this rugged, high-altitude separation exactly what it takes to build a true leader? It's a fascinating question, and one that certainly leaves you wanting to explore the true value of strict discipline in our modern lives. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.